Hello everybody and welcome back to the coolest dog training channel right here on YouTube. I'm Tom Davis, America's canine educator. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about fear-based training, what it is, what it could mean, and about all the lies people are giving you. So when you're out there typing how to create a good relationship with your dog and how to train your dog properly, you're going to get fed a lot of lies, and I'm here to tell you the absolute truth when it comes to working with dogs. So you're going to see silly things like fear-free training, force-free training, etc. You get the idea. So we are the coolest dog training channel on the YouTube planet, and I do get a lot of messages and comments about people saying using fear to get a dog to do what you want or forcing the dog to do what you want. And it's so crazy to me to read some of these comments that come through and to blatantly see how ignorant people are out there about their dogs. And I feel really bad for the people who don't open their mind and are a little bit more mindful about the approach. And so yes, believe it or not, there are people out there trying to just take your money, trying to work from afar, trying to Pinocchio you through loops and hoops on just complete BS. And what it is it's just really easy for other people to say you're training through fear, or you're training through pain, or you're training through force. So again, in like my other videos, I talked about punishment and discipline being a positive thing actually, and being something that is really groundbreaking in a lot of things that we do as humans. And as animals, us as well, evolve, there's a lot of things that get mixed up in society. And one of those things is so many people out there who want to do things a certain way. It's comical to me, but we'll say things like in their profile or in their business or on their card, force-free, fear-free, all these different marketing things to just make you feel like you're making a good decision, a humane decision about the company that you're investing in, when in actuality, they're taking your money and they're tricking you and they're lying to you, because they're literally just saying, they're just telling you like the Coca-Cola and the Pepsi, like crisp, refreshing, delicious. It's just words to make you feel and trigger your mind to say, force-free, well, I don't want to force my dog to do anything. Pain-free, I don't want to hurt my dog. I mean, these are marketing manipulation things. If you see something in somebody's profile that says force-free or pain-free or fear-free training, red flag, red flag, red flag. They're putting on a front for some reason, shape, or form, whether you believe in it or not, and it's something that you actually do, which is almost impossible to do all of those things. It's just one of those things they're telling you up front that I'm trying to throw these keywords out at you so your brain takes it and says, I'm going to make a decision on that. Based off those words, that sounds good. So when I look at some of these profiles, I'm like, oh boy, people are actually falling for that type of stuff. It just seems better. It just sounds better. A lot of times it's not. It's just what you want to hear to get your attention or get your money. So I'm about to debunk all of the crap that you're seeing and all the crap that people feed you. Fear is actually a good thing. It keeps us safe. It teaches us things. It teaches us wrong from right, good and bad, alive or dead. I could go all day about how beneficial fear is and how natural fear is to keep us safe, but also to teach us stuff, right from wrong, good and bad, life or death, etc. So you are 100% right that if my dog doesn't sit and stay, I want them to fear consequence. Now, that doesn't mean they're fearing me as a person and they're sitting there going, oh God, you're going to hurt me. That is laughable, actually comical. No one ever would do that. No, I mean, I shouldn't say that. There are probably people out there, sick individual people that actually abuse dogs and they fear them out of, I don't want to get hurt. That's not what normal, sane humans do. It's really easy for most people to do. We're fear-free trainers. Well, good for you. But for me, I want my dog to fear me in a way that is effective, that is humane, that is responsible, that is nourishing. I want my dog to go, I don't want to get in trouble. It's much like you driving down the road going 100 miles per hour in a school zone and you see a cop behind you, oh crap, or you see a cop in front of you, oh crap. You're fearing for that. Fear is not bad. I'm so sick of seeing fear-free. Fear is not bad. I am so sick of seeing people say fear-free, force-free, all this garbage. It's just such marketing bullshit, and I'm so sick of seeing it, and it's tricking dog owners like you. I also want to mention that if you use fear, it doesn't mean that your dog is literally shaking, afraid of you out of fear. Please don't. That is absolute bullcrap. That is so comical that people actually are telling people that that's how some people train. Maybe some people do, but... And so people, wake up. That's how you learn when you were a kid. That look your mom gave you, that look your dad gave you, that tone of the voice, the look of the face of like, oh boy, I'm in trouble. That fear teaches us right from wrong. We know from afar if we're making good decisions or we're not. So fear is really a really good communicator, in my opinion, when you're working with dogs. I want my dog to have some little bit of, if my dog doesn't have any fear for consequences or fear for doing wrong from right, chances are they're just going to make bad decisions because they're not afraid of anything. They're just going to say, I'm going to run across the street. Why not? What are you going to do about it? So fear is really close kin to consequence and discipline and these things. So sure, fear can definitely be a negative thing. Like if a dog was abused or they had a really traumatic experience, the dog will associate those things with that. So I'm not trying to be naive to say that fear isn't in dogs in any negative way, because sure it is. But when you're training, I want people to understand the concepts of fear and why it triggers the certain chemicals in the brain. The dog is going to go, I don't want to mess up. How can I do better? Dogs will fear doing wrong by you. If you jump up and you say bad, they're going to go, oh, I don't want that ever to happen again because I love my owner so much. So they're going to fear jumping up again. They're going to be afraid of disappointing you. They're going to be afraid of that consequence of you being semi-upset for jumping. Or your dog runs away and you say, Fido, come. Oh, okay, right? And they may be like, oh, I don't want to do that again. So they're fearing these types of things. But fear in dog training can be so valuable and can be utilized because you don't want the dog to make those mistakes. And just like when we're kids, we don't want to disappoint. We're fearful of failing. We're fearful of not making the right decision. So fear is something that you should be utilizing, but not in a negative, I think, the standard of fear abuse. That's such bullcrap. When you see that in people's profiles and people are going to say fear-free, those fear-based trainers, that is completely unnecessarily false. It's so insane that people actually put that out and people go, wow, there's fear-based trainers that they just scare dogs all day. It's like, no, that's not what it is. Of course, it's really easy for people to say the dog is terrified of you. Well, in some situations, I do want the dog terrified for making a decision that can ultimately kill them. But that doesn't mean that they're fearful that they're going to get kicked in the face or punched in the face or shocked or any of these weird, crazy things that people actually think that us balanced dog trainers do, which is insanity. Again, think about it when you were a little kid and you were thinking about like that tone of voice that your parents gave you. You're like, oh boy, you just went right up to your room. You're like, I'm in trouble. And you're like, well, how can I escape that? How can I not make that happen again? That was scary, or things like that. When you're driving down the road and it's snowy and you lose control and then you gain control again, the fear of you making that mistake and like, oh my gosh, that could have been really bad, or the fear of going like, oh, that was so scary, I don't want to do that again, that teaches us valuable, necessary lessons. So what happens in the dog training world is people who don't understand dogs in an entirety, they only understand dogs as a market, or more or less dog owners, unfortunately you guys, they're going to throw those things out there to manipulate your decision to click on their profile or to sign up for their 4-week course of this type of training. Fear is not a bad thing, guys. Fear is what keeps us alive. Fear is the difference between life or death in your dog. If your dog doesn't have that consequential fear of like, I don't want to get in trouble, they're going to run across the road. They're going to jump on the wrong person. They're going to bite a kid. If they don't fear you in some way, then that's a problem. If they don't have that trigger in their brain that says, I don't want to get in trouble, you're going to have a less obedient dog that way. If they're just willy-nilly, I'm going to do whatever I want. There's no dog that I've ever met that says, I am going to be super, super, super obedient and listen to everything you have to say on and off leash because I like you. That is 100% never going to happen. I've never seen a dog ever do that. I'm just going to listen to everything you say because I like you. That's just not going to happen. And the other side of that is when you're working with behavior modification cases where you get certain dogs that are trying to actively hurt somebody or hurt other dogs or doing really making bad decisions, I'm going to up the fear of the dog making those decisions again. So we try to eliminate those things. So when we talk about behavior modification, we're trying to, and it takes a long time, it's not an overnight thing, we're trying to manipulate and modify the dog's behavior through a lot of operant conditioning, teaching the dog right from wrong. So when a dog does something, you give them lots of positive reinforcement. 97.9% of my training is purely positive, but there is a little small portion of disciplinary acts or corrections or something to keep the dog in line to make sure that they don't make bad decisions, because ultimately we don't want them to die or end up in a shelter. Minor little half a second of a correction to teach a dog no jumping, come when called, no pulling on the leash, don't try to kill anybody, things like that. But then as things get more elevated and the dogs are born with this really, like people, like dogs can change to be nasty. You are goddamn right. I'm going to put fear in that dog's eyes that they know that if they make a mistake, hey, it could be their last mistake, or hey, you can't bite that person, or hey, you can't bite that other dog. I'm going to teach the dog that being around these things that they were potentially aggressive towards, or I'm certainly going to make them fear of making a really bad decision to keep them alive. Because a lot of dogs, especially adolescent, younger dogs who are making these decisions, are doing this over and over and over again, and they don't know how to get out of it. And so I'm going to correct the dog, and then the dog's going to be fearful of making that behavior or making that assumption of another dog. And then eventually what happens is, and here's the key, is it's not about correcting the dog and saying no, because then the dog just gets pent up and it's just like, I'm going to come after you as soon as this guy's gone. What I want to teach the dog that not reacting and not barking and lunging and trying to go after the dog is actually a lot less stressful than continuing to go after the dog and making a really stressful situation. So I'm trying to modify the behavior through correcting what's wrong and saying, hey, you can't do that. And then the dog kind of looking around the room like, oh, wow, this is a lot better. I'm going to act like this. Then you give positive reinforcement, good job. But you are inhumane and you are simply not a professional, in my opinion, if you don't take a dog that is literally making really bad decisions because of the environment or upbringing that the dog has come from. Like if a child was just neglected, abandoned, or abused, we're not going to look at the child and say, oh, you know what, you're just a bad egg. We're just going to put you in the electric chair. You're gone. We'll start over again somewhere down the line with your family. Never would we do that. We try to rehab the individual to teach them right from wrong. And with dogs, throughout that process, if you don't put some sort of fear in the training to say like, hey, you're one bite away from dying or something like that. And again, sometimes it is not their fault. So yes, you 100% have to use some sort of fear-based training to get the dog to understand, like, I don't want to make that decision again. I don't want to make you mad. I don't want to make you mad. I don't want this annoying thing on the collar to go off. Like, having that fear in your training is life-saving. And if you don't use that fear in some of the training, like a little small percentage of your training, what are you doing? I don't understand. And I think that's why I wanted to make this video is, you guys, there's so many people out there trying to manipulate your mind and tell you that this is the only way and this is the right way and all these things. Like, if anybody on their profile, on their business card, on their website says this is the only way to do things, I am free of this, and this, red flag like crazy, that means they only have one way of doing something. They only believe in one thing, and that's it. So if your dog, like children, go outside of that realm or out of their comfort zone, guess what's going to happen? Yeah, you know what's going to happen. So you really need to do your research when you see these red flags, because it's very unprofessional, and to be honest, it's marketing. That's all it is. So I wanted to make this video. If you guys agree or if you have any questions, of course, leave the comments below. I appreciate your loyalty. I have a Patreon account, which means you guys can support me on Patreon. I think it's like $20 a month. And that way I can do more videos. I can do more podcasts. So if you want to support me, link below, Patreon/UpstateK9. Thank you guys so very much for watching this video. And I talk to you next time. Peace.